Seventh Initiation, The Secret Doctrine. While in India, Madame Blavatsky became mysteriously ill, and the doctor expressed grave concerns that she would not live through the night. Some of her friends waited outside of her room and witnessed the sudden appearance of Master Moria. They claimed that he passed quickly through the outer room into Madame Blavatsky's room. The next morning, the physician was astounded to find her condition greatly stabilized. Madame Blavatsky's self-healing under the guidance of the masters is an inspiring and well-documented example of the taming of the lower forces. This type of experience is a deep shamanic initiation, a spiritual death and rebirth. Such an experience is often encountered when first entering a path of heightened awareness, or when first answering a call to a higher mission. This type of initiation calls for a process of increasing discipline to sublimate the lower psychic forces. In this process, it is important not to identify with the undesirable forces, but rather to recognize them as a quality of energy brought out through heightened discipline. These energies must be released and transmuted in order to pass to the next highest planes. After her recovery, she told her intimate friends how her master had come and given her two choices. The first, to die and pass on into peace, and the second, to live on a little longer and complete the secret doctrine, so that a few faithful souls seeking the wisdom might be enabled both to get the wisdom and to understand the masters. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky wrote the following of the experience in a letter to her friend A.P. Sennett. But I shall never, nor could I if I would, forget that forever memorable night during the crisis of my illness, when Master, before exacting from me a certain promise, revealed to me that he thought that I ought to know before pledging my word to him for the work he asked me, not ordered as he had the right to do. On that night when everyone expected me every minute to breathe my last, I learned it all. I was shown who was right and who was wrong unwittingly, and who was entirely treacherous, and a general sketch of what I had to expect outlined before me. Black treachery, assumed friendship for selfish ends, belief in my guilt, and yet a determination to lie in my defense, since I was a convenient step to rise upon, and what not. Human nature I saw in all its hideousness in that short hour, when I felt one of Master's hands upon my heart, forbidding it to cease beating, and saw the other calling out sweet future before me. With all that, when he had shown me all, and asked, "Are you willing?" I said yes, and thus signed my wretched doom, for the sake of the few who were entitled to his thanks. Death was so welcome at that hour, rest so needed, so desired, life like the one that stared me in the face, and that is realized now, so miserable. Yet how could I say no to him, who wanted me to live? But all this is perhaps incomprehensible to you, though I do hope it is not quite true. By 1885, Madame Blavatsky was the target of much slander and scandal. People called her everything from charlatan to fraud. A huge controversy ensued with the Psychic Research Society of London, who branded her one of the most accomplished, ingenious and interesting impostors of history. The tense and unpleasant atmosphere of India became unbearable, forcing her to return to London to continue her work. Since the time of the publication of The Secret Doctrine in 1888, the world population has quadrupled. Many of the technological advances that we take for granted today did not exist then, namely the airplane, automobile, and computer. However, the signs of technological advance were everywhere, the Western European world as well as America, were agog over technology itself, with a spate of world fairs displaying all the latest innovations. At this time, the Eiffel Tower, the world's tallest structure, was under construction. At this time, there was also a great deal of interest in advancement of electricity and electromagnetism. This is an important point when you stop to think about what electricity and electromagnetism connote, a type of etheric vibrant energy. Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla, both genius pioneers in channeling this cosmic force, were deeply involved in occult work as well. Edison was an official member of the Theosophical Society. The Secret Doctrine was a profoundly well-structured text. Madame Blavatsky synthesized her perspective, which is the perspective of the Orientalist, the combination of esoteric Buddhist and the Vedanta Hindu philosophy. This perspective, underlying a work of such grand cosmic, historical and scientific breadth, was perhaps the most striking and remarkable aspect of her works and character. There had never been anything like it in the history of human thought. It was truly global. The Secret Doctrine sheds light on the potentiality of the creation of a cosmic personality, according to divine and transcendental precepts that allow it to function in a multi-layered, multi-dimensional universe. The Secret Doctrine is a manifestation of Blavatsky's own complex and highly evolved personality. This synthesis of knowledge, displayed in both Isis Unveiled and the Secret Doctrine, is a fundamental statement of the urge to You Are, the post-historic spirituality. She was aware of virtually every mythological tradition that existed, and synthesized them in such a way to illustrate the fundamental point that they were all derived from a previous root race, like one tree with many branches. These different traditions also point to the fact that we are entering into the fold of another root race. Dane Rudhyar said of Madame Blavatsky, "Even more convincing is the astounding character of the contents of her large books, especially the Secret Doctrine, which no ordinary mind could have produced without passing dozens of years studying and collating an immense mass of verifiable documents in many great libraries." At the same time, it is evident that Blavatsky, the woman, spent her life away from university and national libraries. In May 1889, Madame Blavatsky made a prophetic statement in her magazine Lucifer, in which she relates the role of theosophy in the world. If theosophy prevailing in the struggle, its all-embracing philosophy strikes deep root into the minds and hearts of men, if its doctrine of reincarnation and karma, in other words, of hope and responsibility, find a home in the lives of the new generations, then indeed will dawn the day of joy and gladness for all who now suffer and are outcast. For real theosophy is altruism, and we cannot repeat it too often. It is brotherly love, mutual help, unswerving devotion to truth. If once men do but realize that in these alone can true happiness be found, and never in wealth, possessions, or any selfish gratification, then the dark clouds will roll away, and a new humanity will be born upon earth. Then the golden age will be there indeed. But if not, then the storm will burst, and our boasted Western civilization and enlightenment will sink in such a sea of horror that its parallel history has never yet recorded. The last 6 years of Madame Blavatsky's life were devoted to writing The Secret Doctrine, The Key to Theosophy, The Theosophical Glossary, The Voice of the Silence, and numerous articles. She died peacefully in London during an influenza epidemic on May 8, 1891.